Good evening, everyone, and a warm welcome to you all. Thank you for joining us for another exciting session of Lead Forward series brought to you by IFPU in collaboration with Grid Coaches. We received an excellent response from participants of previous session. We are excited to continue this journey of leadership growth with professionals like you, people who are not only committed to the roles but also to becoming better, stronger, more self-aware leaders. Let me ask you, as we begin, what's one belief you will let go of that created space for growth in your life or leadership? Uh, I will request to type your responses in the chat. We'd love to hear from you. At IFPO, our goal goes beyond certifications. We are committed to empowering not only the security professionals, but also team leaders and industry change makers with the mindset and skills to lead forward in today's dynamic world. Today's That's what the series is all about, bring practical, thought-provoking conversations led by experts who just don't talk leadership but live it. Our first session was a powerful start, highly interactive and filled with energy. Today we build on that momentum with a topic that truly reflects all of us, often without us realizing it. Break the barriers. Let go of limiting belief. It's not just a title, it's a challenging to pause, reflect, and reframe the quiet thoughts that shape our potential and performance. My name is Kaleem Ahmed, and I'll be your moderator today. I'm thrilled to welcome our speaker, Mehreen Owais, a globally experienced leadership expert, an ICF certified executive and leadership coach, and a master trainer with the New Leadership Institute. She brings over 15 years of transformational work in leadership and coaching, and today's session will be no exception. Please feel free to drop your thoughts and questions in the chat. We will take them during the Q&A. Now let's give warm welcome to Mehreen Owais. Mehreen, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much for that wonderful introduction and the wonderful video that was playing. Assalamu alaikum, everybody. Lovely to have you here. Give me a yes in the chat if you are repeating from last year, if you also attended the last session that we had in April. So drop me a yes so I know who are my repeat friends. Awesome. Lots of yeses coming up. And we are over 35 people today, and hopefully more will join in. So that's exciting. I think I don't need to spend any more time on my introduction. But as I was reading the chat, there's always a little game that I play with myself when I'm reading the chat, is to see if I can spot a new country which I either haven't visited or I haven't lived in or I haven't worked with. And today, the only country that I spotted that was Philippines. So whoever signed in from Philippines, welcome. I'd love to work or live or visit Philippines one day. All the other countries mentioned, I've been there in some capacity. So I already feel connected to you in that way. Awesome. So our last session was brilliant. I'm also super excited about today's session because this topic is very close to my heart. It's something that I have, been connected with for some years. And that is about understanding what our limiting beliefs are and how to get rid of them and the potential we get once we get rid of them. So without further ado, let's start with that. Just give me a thumbs up, somebody, if you can see my screen moving forward. It's not frozen. Kaleem, did you see that move forward?
Yeah.
Yes, sounds good. Thank you for the thumbs up. Great, awesome. So Kaleem has done a fabulous job giving my introduction, and some of you are here for the second time. So let's not spend any time here, but my email address and LinkedIn ID is there. So very happy to connect with you, and Kaleem can copy paste that and put it in the chat as well.
Yeah.
All right. So before we get into it, I'm going to play a really fun game with you. It's a game. Consider it a activity where you use your brains a little bit. So you see two images in front of you. There is a blue circle and there is a red circle. So irrespective of what you see in front of you, there is one circle that is bigger than the other. So I want you to tell me in the chat, for those who think the blue circle is bigger than the red. So I have my eyes on the Chat. So write blue if you think the blue circle is bigger than the red. So write blue in the chat. So lots of people say blue. All right. And write red if you think red is bigger. Okay. Amer Al-Wafi, if I hope I'm saying that right, says that they seem to be the same size. But actually, one is bigger than the other, as you can see by the responses coming in. So which one do you think? Abdullah Al-Zayed, same goes for you. Which one do you think is bigger, red or blue? Sambi David, and I hope I said that right because I'm assuming that the M is silent. Same for you. So the people who think it's the same size, Ali Nomes, Mohammed Al-Kahtani. Would you like to change your answers, the ones who are saying same? Would you like to have another look based on what everybody else is saying? Do you think one seems bigger than the other? All right, I've gotten lots of answers. Okay, Abdullah Al-Zaid still says no. Interesting. Put a pin in that. same for, but different. Nadeem has possibly done this exercise with me, so you can't cheat, Nadeem. Okay. Amir Al-Wafi still says that he cannot see the difference, and Saeed Al-Shari as well. All right, great. Awesome. Thank you for playing that little game with me. And okay, great. So newsflash, they're actually the same size. So how did that make you feel? The ones, and the vast majority of people said that one is bigger than the other. And the ones who continue to say that they're the same are possibly feeling really good about themselves right about now. So this, ladies and gentlemen, is the power of perception. This is the power that other people have over you. They're exactly the same. Some of you possibly had the gut feeling. So tell me in the chat, if you, when you looked at the circles before I gave the instructions, how many of you felt that they're the same size? But because I said that they're different and I asked the question, which one is different, you changed your answer to one. You really had to look and you had to choose an answer, which one is bigger. So a lot of you now are saying that your gut feeling was telling me that they're similar. So I've done this exercise lots and lots of time with small groups, with big groups, and this is a similar response I get. They all say our gut feeling was that it was similar, but the minute I start saying that it's different, they think that they need to pick one. And then when they start getting answers from everybody else, they say, oh my God, the majority is saying it's different, it's got to be different. So the lesson here is that when you repeat a belief enough times, so I said 2 to 3 times, even the ones that were saying they're not similar, I kept repeating my message, that if you repeat it enough times, it becomes your ultimate truth. It becomes your reality. Now, if I'd given this exercise a little bit more time and I'd repeated a bit more time, and if I'd, taken a very stern tone in terms of repeating it, and I was very confident in saying it, but if I'd become even more strict, even the people who were saying they look the same would eventually have changed their answers. So if we say or hear a belief system, a thought system enough times, it becomes our reality. If enough people say it, it becomes part of our culture. And if it's passed down by generations, it becomes part of our tradition. And we know that belief systems that become part of our culture and tradition, they're very difficult to get rid of. So that's something that we're going to look at. Great. Hope you had fun with that exercise. So what happened as I was talking was that the thoughts that were going through your head, when even if your eyes and ears or your sixth sense was telling you a different message, but based on what I was saying and based on everybody around you, the thought that was going in your head was possibly a variation of, they must be different because she said so. They must be different because everybody else is answering. So they must be different. I must be wrong. And the feelings you got, the emotion that you got was, I don't want to be wrong. I don't want to be embarrassed. I don't want to be the only one disagreeing with her. You felt a certain kind of pressure coming out from that feeling. And we all have that need to be right. Everyone else agrees. So possibly something is not okay with the way I'm perceiving this. That feeling and those thoughts lead to a certain kind of behavior. So even though it was a complete lie, I got everybody to at least raise their hands and answer, with the exception of just a few people. And if I had just 5 more minutes, I would have changed their answer as well. So everybody raised hands, agreed, even when their eyes said otherwise. So I want you to think about, what's that one thought in your life, and more particularly in your work, that often enters your head and stops you from taking a positive action. For everybody, there's at least one thought that comes to our head very regularly. And while you're thinking, it's very interesting. I want to share a story about my 5-year-old, soon to turn 6. She had a big performance today. And she told me after the performance that, the thought that was coming in my head again and again was, I'm so nervous. I'm so nervous. But so I said, then what did you do about it? And she said, you know what? I replaced it with a different thought. I kept telling myself, I can do this. I can do this. It's difficult, but I can do this. So there are all kinds of thoughts that come into our heads. So great. Some of you are sharing very authentically, if it's worth the effort. So I'll share. A thought that often comes to my head is, this is difficult, or this is uncomfortable. And then I replace it with a different thought. So what is that one thought you usually, what if? So a lot of thoughts coming with the what if I failed? Excellent. So that's a thought very common to us. What if I don't do a good job? That's a thought that comes into my head often. What if I don't do a good job? What happens if I'm wrong? Excellent. Yes. These are thoughts that most of us can relate to, right? You can keep putting. All right. So what happens is, what I've just explained to you with the activity and with the debrief, is that there is a very strong link between our thoughts, behavior, and our feelings. When we behave a certain way, it's not looked at, and we should not look at it in isolation. What's happening beneath it is what's important. So behind every single behavior of ours is a certain emotion. And behind every single emotion, there's a certain thought process. The thought process leads to the emotion leads to the behavior. And we often explain that through the iceberg model as well. When you see the tip, that's all you see mostly in your behavior and everybody else's behavior. That's the tip of the iceberg. We all know about the famous movie Titanic, right? They, in their case, they might have with their binoculars looked at the tip of the iceberg, but they failed to see everything, the real danger that was beneath the surface. So it's what's beneath the surface that's the most important part. And the three things that I want you to focus on when you're looking at beneath the surface is, what emotion leads to the actions and behaviors you see both in yourself and other people around you. What thoughts are behind those emotions? And what are the core beliefs that are driving those thoughts? And today we're going to look at some of those core beliefs. So I love this picture because it speaks volumes about what is the power of a belief system, what a good belief system can lead to, and what could a limiting belief system lead to. So, and belief system leads us to perceive a situation a certain way, and perception creates our ultimate reality. So we know that tragedies are inevitable. It would be a really idiotic idea to think that tragedies don't happen. Tragedies happen to everybody, but there's always a lesson to be learned, and it's what lesson we get out of there and what opportunity we see in every single difficulty is important. So like it said here, I'm trying to remember. In every opportunity, there's difficulty. And in every difficulty, there's opportunity. Everything has beauty, but not everybody can see it. So you look in the picture from on the left side, it's the same picture, the same situation, but one person sees it as danger. So he's really limited. And one person sees it as an opportunity. There's nothing either good or bad, but thinking makes it so. There was one time where I completely froze in front of a small audience. It was just 4 people on the panel, and I had to present, and I completely froze. And did I take it as a negative opportunity or did I take it as a learning opportunity? To this day, I say that was one of the best presentation experiences of my life because it taught me so much in that moment. I had to freeze that one day to understand how to pivot. And then there have been times when I presented to as many as 500 people, and I still say that that experience was better for me. And similarly, on the right side, two people looking at the honeybee but looking at it from different perspectives. One sees danger, threat, risk. The other one sees opportunity and growth. And I want you to, oh, it's not, yeah, share another really interesting fact about bumblebees. Aerodynamically, the bumblebee shouldn't even be able to fly. Isn't that interesting? And yet we know that the bumblebee does fly. The bumblebee doesn't know that aerodynamically it's not supposed to fly. It doesn't have the right aerodynamics to be able to fly, but it flies all the time because it doesn't know. It doesn't know the belief that might limit it. So it goes on flying anywhere. So I want you to think about what are the moments where you can be a bumblebee or you're the opposite of bumblebee. So if we want to change behaviors, the one key takeaway from this part is that if you want to change behaviors, you cannot just look at the tip of the iceberg. You cannot just look at your behavior. You have to go deeper and understand what are the beliefs and narratives and emotions that you have absorbed over the years and that are affecting your behavior. And often we don't even realize it, by the way. 99% of the time, you don't know the beliefs you're carrying unless and until you really, really get deeper into it. And I want you to link this into the performance equation. I might have brought it up in the last session as well. I love this equation. It's by Tim Galloway from The Inner Game of Work. It's a fabulous book. I really recommend you reading it. And he talks about that. So he's a very famous tennis coach, and then he made the shift to corporate coaching, something that I do. And even when he used to coach tennis players, he said that the outer game never mattered. It's always the inner game that matters. How they think about their game, how they think about their capabilities, how they show up, that led to how their outer game was. So the outer game performance, which we see, tip of the iceberg, was never the most important part of the equation. So all of us are born with potential, but why does our potential sometimes not equal to our performance? Why does our performance come short of our potential? It is because of this I, the interference. This interference can be outer interference, people outside us, our society, our culture. But a lot of times, this interference is inner interference. Our internal noise, the internal noise is all up here. The beliefs, the messages, the thoughts that we tell ourselves that stop us from reaching our true potential. And I'm going to show that with you to you a little bit through a presentation example. So this I, the inner part of I, is the limiting beliefs. So let's try and unpack what limiting beliefs are. It's a word we use a lot. It gets thrown around. Maybe you're hearing it for the first time today, but what exactly is it? So a limiting belief is a deeply held assumption or thought that we accept as true. We think that this is the ultimate truth or reality because it goes really deep down into us. How did it get there? It possibly got there because it was put in our heads from an early age. It was shaped by our culture or our family or experiences or the messages we got around us. Experiences, because let's say I was, after that first presentation where I froze, I inserted the belief system in my head that I'm not a good presenter. And then next time I did a presentation, I repeated to myself, you remember last time you're not a good presenter. And next time I do it again. So every experience would make that belief system stronger. It's a belief system we rarely question. We usually, like I said, are not conscious of it. It lives in our subconscious, but it continues to influence our behavior and mindset. It often operates on autopilot. Every time. We don't have to reset it. We don't even have to think about it. It's so subconscious that immediately our brain, from a neuroscience point of view, has a tendency to dip into information that's already there. It doesn't want to, make an extra effort and get new information. It's easier to dip into the information already there. So if you've constantly repeated to yourself that you're not a good presenter, the brain is going to go to that information first. So like the example of my 5-year-old, the new reservoir she's created for herself is that I can do this, I'm capable of it. So every time she has a performance, she feels that anxiety, but her brain goes on autopilot and dips into that information because she's fed her brain that information more repeatedly. However, it has a really strong way of affecting how we think of ourselves, what our reality becomes, and how much is possible for us. And we call it a limiting belief because it in one way or another limits us. In some way, it limits us from being our best version. It limits us from feeling satisfaction or happiness. It leads to anxiety and stress. It limits us from being successful. And it often limits us from taking the right action. So few examples of how limiting beliefs look like. So for example, and please type yes to whatever you can resonate with. And if at any point you have said this to yourself, I'm not smart and qualified or talented enough. I'm too old. It's too late for me to change now. It's too late for me to take this role. As I've turned 38 this year, I'm hearing this from my colleagues and friends more and more and more. I'm too old for this. And I say, what do you mean you're too old? You're young. You're at the prime of your life. This is the time to do things. That's the difference between our belief systems. I have to be perfect. I have to be perfect to be accepted. I have to get this perfectly. I have to be perfect if my boss is going to be happy with this. If I say no, they won't like me. If I say no, my boss or manager is going to be upset. If I say no, I'm going to end up in a problem. It's safer not to try than risk failure. It's better not to get into it. It's better to avoid this. So these are some examples of limiting beliefs. And as you can see, in one way or the other, they limit us either from feeling the best version of ourselves, from feeling satisfaction or happiness or success or empowerment, or from taking action. So a person who's saying it's safer not to try than risk failure is not even going to try and is probably going to miss out everything that is in store for that person. So some examples, I'm not sure if I wrote on the screen. If I did, I'm very sorry about that. I don't know if I'm doing that or if it's just happening by default. Anyways, so I brought a few examples of how managers, most of you are managers. A lot of times the managers have the most limiting beliefs because they're leading teams and they've come to that position carrying a lot of beliefs and they carry that with them. So I don't have enough project management qualification. I'm just a project manager, not a project leader. I don't have enough experience. I'm not senior enough to make these decisions or manage these stakeholders. I'm not confident enough for this project. I will fail. It will fail. I need more support. I don't have enough time to think strategically. And it's so interesting. Just this morning, I connected with a senior manager who's being offered a very high position. And these are all the things she said to me. Even though her senior managers believe that she's going to be a great leader, but she herself was carrying all these limiting beliefs. And we have set up coaching to address those limiting beliefs. So limiting beliefs stick. They're the stickiest of all the beliefs. They stick because, like I said, repetition. It's a belief that the more you think to yourself, the stronger the belief will become. It's like it's food for that belief. The more you do it, the more you think it, the more somebody says it to you, the more you say it to somebody, it sticks. It becomes stronger and stronger and bigger and bigger. Confirmation bias. When we have a belief system and we only pay attention to the evidence that supports the belief and ignore everything that goes against it, that is confirmation bias. So I'll give you an example. If I believe that I'm very bad with technology, okay, and I've said this for a very long time, and last time I used the example if I'm very bad at driving, so I'll use both the examples. Then every time there's an example in front of me that proves, my mind will only pay attention to it. So yesterday I drove and I hit into the roadside, and that confirms that I'm a very bad driver. But maybe just a day before, somebody had complimented me on, I really like how careful you are as a driver. Or somebody told me, I think that if you take lessons, you're going to be very good at driving. But I'm going to ignore that information. I'm only going to pay attention to the information that supports my limiting belief that I'm not a good driver and I'm not a good presenter or I'm not good with technology. So it's going to stick more. And then next time, it's going to stick more. So that's confirmation bias. Social reinforcement. When people around us carry the same belief, or when people around us feed into our belief, sometimes that's media, then it reinforces the belief system. So growing up, and I wrote a chapter on this, I'd love to share that chapter with you as a special gift from me. Growing up, we were constantly fed, and millennial women all over the world would agree with this, that we were fed this concept that women cannot be good leaders. Growing up, that's all I heard. Everywhere I looked, articles that I read, media personalities, they said women cannot be good leaders. And we grew up with that belief system. Socially, it was being reinforced. Media was reinforcing that. Articles were reinforcing that. And I still remember in my university, there was she was an amazing instructor. And she used to lead this course about empowerment. And she said, you know what? I need to bring evidence. I need to bring cases that prove that women are great leaders, because we're only fed the narrative that women are not good leaders. And we know today, we have millions of examples in front of us which show us that women are great leaders. So yes, the way your education is, the kind of articles you read, the kind of books that are written, media, your family, friends around you, they all could enforce a certain limiting belief. Comfort in familiarity. What that means is that for you, even if the belief is limiting, it's more familiar. So it feels safer to be in that belief system. So you don't want to go away from it because you don't know what else to believe in. It's uncertain and it makes you uncomfortable. And fear-based logic is something very similar. When you move away from that, something stops you, because all the what ifs that you put, that what ifs come into play. Oh, what if I drive and I hit a car? So better to not even get into the car. Forget about it. Something that I've done for years. Forget it. Because for me, the discomfort of getting into the car and exploring myself seems too much to handle. So I don't even try. And I'll reinforce that with an example of presentations. When you repeat this to yourself every single time, I'm a bad presenter. And next time, notice how many times we do this, how many times we repeat something that we're not good at. It will stick. Every time, for example, you've gone, somebody has told you that, let's say you make a mistake. You will focus on that and you will ignore maybe a day before somebody paid you a compliment that you're a good presenter, or the way your style of presenting is very unique. But you will not remember that. You will remember the comment of somebody who said that you made a mistake. You could have done better, even if that comment came from yourself. So that's confirmation bias. Social reinforcement is if even your friends or your people around you are saying, yes, I'm a bad presenter too, then you reinforce that. Or your manager is constantly telling you, yeah, you're not very good, you need to improve. Or your parents are our earliest messengers. If they tell you that, yes, you're not a good presenter, you need to go get better. Our teachers. Comfort and familiarity would look like when you want to go present, but you will give up on opportunities. You will not put yourself out there because it seems a territory that you're not used to. Better to stay quiet and not present. Similarly, with fear, you're afraid that you'll make a fool of yourselves, you'll feel embarrassed, you'll make a mistake, you'll freeze. So you say, forget it. Let's not even get into it. Let's not even try. However, we know that the more you try, the more you face your fear, the fear will go away. But we don't put ourselves in that position. That's when you know you're into a limiting belief system. So limiting beliefs work in a loop. The limiting belief makes you doubt that you can do it. It tells you that you cannot do it. So let's say that you do push yourself and you do it, but you don't get success. So you tell yourself, see, I told myself that I'm bad at it and I shouldn't have done it. So this adds to the evidence that you were right about believing that way. And next time, that belief system gets multiplied. However, another way of looking at it is that when you get stuck in this loop where you don't get a lot of success, you can ask yourself, yes, but let me look at what did go right for me. Or let me look at what did I learn from this so I can again put myself in this position and get better. But more often we stop here. When it makes us uncomfortable, when it makes us scared, we don't even want to put ourselves in that position next time. So will you will walk away and run away from opportunities that ask you to present, because it would add to the loop. So we need to create new loops, and we'll get to that in a bit. Now, can you identify one specific belief that holds you back? Very particularly, you feel like, yes, this belief, it whenever I think it, it holds me back. It could be, I need to be perfect. It could be, I'm scared, I'm not good enough, I'm not a good presenter. So think of something very specific that holds you back. For me, a lot of times it is, what's the point? What is it going to get me? And then I have to reframe it. Okay, thank you for being authentic, Hemant. You said all of all of it. So that's great. All right. Perfection. That's a very most, so I'm somebody who I wore the badge of perfection for a very long time, thinking that it's a good skill, but it's not. It always used to limit me in one way or the other. And I let go of a lot of good opportunities in life because I was waiting for it to be perfect. So that's when I knew that it was a limiting belief. So what's the impact of limiting beliefs? So we all know that it leads to decreased personal and team productivity. You're not productive when you're not even putting yourself out there, when you're not utilizing your full potential, like I showed you in the equation. You are compromising on your productivity as well as your overall team productivity. You cannot be your most creative self. When you give in to your fear, when you give in to your emotions and limiting beliefs, you don't try, you don't push your limits, and you don't get to those corners of your brain that are capable of more, that are capable of being creative. You are, when limiting beliefs is the opposite of empowerment. So while you would get a lot of dopamine from being empowered, limiting beliefs would give you a lot of cortisol, a lot of stress. So your motivation to do something would be very, very low. You take few risks because you don't want to fail, you don't want to go through that uncomfortable state. And a lot of times it takes to bad decision making. You would choose something that makes you feel safe or makes you, hold on to your limiting belief rather than the right decision. So beliefs are not facts. You have the power to rewrite the narrative. I want you to let that sink into you. Beliefs are just beliefs that you have created in yourself. They don't have power over you. You have the power over them. It might be difficult. It might require work. It might require a lot of coaching. So a lot of my coaching is around reversing limiting beliefs. It's hard work, but it is possible. It is possible to rewrite that narrative. So let's talk about how we can do that. How can we break that cycle, that loop that we talked about? The number one and possibly the hardest step is awareness and acknowledgement. A lot of times when I work with people, 1 or 2 sessions are just spent on, I don't have any limiting belief system. So everybody, and I saw a few people who said in the chat, I don't have any limiting beliefs. None of them. Each one of us has limiting beliefs. It's impossible that you don't have them. And the fact that you're saying that you don't have them is a limiting belief in itself. So even me, who's I've done tons of trainings on limiting beliefs. I work with dozens of clients every year on limiting beliefs. Even I have limiting beliefs, because as humans, we are supposed to have limiting beliefs. They're fed into us. But how are we aware of them? And once we're aware of them, do we have the courage to acknowledge them? Do we have the courage to look at what is causing the belief and what is the trigger of that belief? So cause is something what really goes deep back, right? Is it our family that put our belief there? And sometimes some of the cultures that we are part of, we don't want to go against our family. We don't want to say, no, 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 no. For me, this is culture. Remember the activity I did with you in the beginning? We feel that it's part of our culture, it's part of our tradition, and we proudly own it, but it's holding us back in one way or the other. So we have to be brave to be aware of it, to acknowledge it, and only then we can challenge it. We can challenge it by asking ourselves, is this really a fact? Or is it a belief that I've picked up? Is it a belief that has been fed into me for a long time? And I need to look at it differently. So you need to challenge yourself. You need to challenge the narrative around you to reframe. And like I told you, it really is very uncomfortable, especially if it's a very strong, deep belief, or if it's a belief that goes against your culture or tradition. You also here, when you challenge yourself, you need to look and collect the evidence that goes against the evidence that you have collected. So I'll take the driving example again. For me, in order for me to start collecting the evidence that I can be a good driver, I need to put myself out there. And it's very uncomfortable, but I need to challenge myself. So challenging yourself is one of the most key area in this. And then the third, more difficult one is to take small, empowering actions. What actions can you take, even if it's this small, to start taking that limiting belief out and replacing it with a different belief? And so usually this is very hard. And at this point, you do need coaching to understand, yes, this is the belief I was carrying. I'm aware of it. I acknowledge it, and I'm ready to challenge it. And I'm ready to reframe it. But what steps do I take? Very important, surround yourself with people who have positive influence on you, who are carrying positive beliefs. And sometimes you'll find that you don't find a lot of these people, but you have to go actively seek them. Sometimes I'm somebody who's often called an outlier. I love that word. I say it's a badge I wear very proudly. If you're calling me an outlier, that means I'm different, I'm going against the tide. So I'm somebody who's lived in many different countries, and a lot of the countries that I've lived in, people used to raise their eyebrows and say, are you serious? Why are you moving to this country? And I'll give you an example. One such country was Nigeria in Africa. How many people have out of you have heard about it? So about 12 years ago, when I moved to that country, it was known for the terrorism that was happening there. And everybody tried to feed that belief system into me. It's going to be terrible. You're going to have a very bad time. Why you take, I had an 8-month-old baby at that time. I refused to buy into that belief system. I said, I'm not going to listen to all these voices. Instead, I'm going to find that one voice who shares my energy and my positive belief into going into this country. And when I actively looked, I did find that person. And I lived in that country for 7 years, and the best 7 years of my life. Before moving to Nigeria, I lived in Switzerland. And today, if you ask me if I went back and would I choose Switzerland to live in or Nigeria, I often tell people I'd actually go back to Nigeria. That's how happy I was there. The people were wonderful. All the stereotypes that I'd heard, they were all broken. Another country which all of you would relate was Saudi Arabia. When I was moving there, and this was a little bit before women were given the right to drive and to work, and they said, you're making a mistake for your career. I said, no way. And again, the best time of my life was spent in Saudi Arabia. I would go back in a heartbeat. And I always tell my husband, we get an opportunity to go back to Saudi Arabia, don't even check with me, just say yes. That's how amazing my time over there was. So I not only slashed everybody else's belief systems, but I also looked inside and checked, was anybody affecting my belief system? And every single time, I just needed to connect with one or two right people who shared my belief system. And while you're doing that, it's going to be difficult. It's going to be hard work. It's going to be uncomfortable. So do practice self-compassion. Keep checking with you. Tell yourself, like my daughter did. My 5-year-old daughter said, I can do this. It's difficult for me. And I heard her say that it's difficult for me. And I saw her doing some deep breathing. Every time she'd say, it's difficult for me, deep breath, but I can do this. And she was sitting with that discomfort, but she was also taking care of herself. So do that and visualize success. I cannot stress on this enough. So every time I'm dealing with, I had a day like that just a few days ago, where I had some really tough meetings during the day. I felt like, oh, this is too big. And a negative belief, a limiting belief system entered my head, said, Mary, you've taken too much. You've taken more than you can handle. You've never done something so big. So many things can go wrong. And I started feeling anxiety. I started feeling stressed out. And then I said, hold on. How can I replace that? So I started visualizing the end of that day or the end of that week. I said, at the end of the week, I'm going to visualize that everything went great. Even if I made mistakes, I'm going to learn from it. Even if things did not go right, it's okay. I can be human and I can acknowledge everything that I do wrong and I can learn from it and move on. And by the end of it, I'm visualizing that I'm going to have this, I'm going to feel this way, I'm going to think this way, and I'm going to act this way. And that helped me get through the day and get through the week. And yes, I did end up making mistakes, but those mistakes were not bigger than what I gained and how the achievement that I got out of that week. So a little bit of an example I'll share with you how to reframe your limited beliefs. So one example is here. I don't feel valued or motivated at work, but I can't make a change until I have enough skills, savings, or certainty to take the next step. This is a real one from a real client of mine. So after some work, after some coaching, he was able to reframe that. Incidentally, that person was also from Saudi Arabia. And he said, I do not need to wait to find purposeful and rewarding work. By trying something new, I increase my skills, I get more confident, and I discover everything that I'm capable of. And I can motivate myself and inspire myself. So a few other examples that I've put similar to the ones that I did before. So I'm not good enough becomes I am enough, and I'm always growing and improving. If I fail, I lose everything. That's a very common limiting belief that I come across. So you tell yourself failure is just a learning opportunity. You should welcome failure with open arms. It's the best thing that happens to you. If you haven't failed, then fail. It's the best book that you'll ever read. It's the best lesson of life. So failure is a learning opportunity that only takes you that much closer to success. So if failure is staring you in the face, go hug it. That's what you need to do. I'll never be as good as others. Raise your hands how many times you've felt that. I felt that. I still feel that. I still see somebody and I say, I don't think I'm going to be that good. And then immediately I catch myself because I've done all that work to be self-aware. And I say, hold on, what can I learn from this person? Instead of comparing myself with that person, I can be inspired from this person. So and I remind myself that I'm on my own journey and I only need to compare with myself as a measure of success. And other people, I don't need to compare with them. I can just learn from them. I cannot trust people. I also hear this a lot. And you can reframe that by saying, I choose to trust people who show me respect and integrity. And I choose to walk away from people who do not. So I'll end this with one of my favorite stories of limiting beliefs, and that is Venus and Serena Williams, as we know, the queens of tennis. If you haven't watched the movie, I'm forgetting the name of the movie. If somebody can put it on the chat, check it on Google and put it on the chat. It's the movies from the perspective of their father. And it's a brilliant example of how to let go of limiting beliefs. So Venus Williams was, she's won so many championships and Grand Slams. From a very young age, the belief system that was fed to her by the society around her was that tennis is a rich person's game. You need to have the right equipment. You need to be connected to rich people to be able to afford to play this game. Another narrative she was felt was that for a Black young girl to, go high up to tennis is just not possible. So did that belief system become part of her reality, that she is different, hence she cannot play this game? She's limited because she doesn't have the resources. It did not become part of her reality because she needed that one person who told her that that belief does not need to become your reality, and that was her father. He constantly fed her a different belief system. And as the rest is history, we know everything that she has achieved in tennis. Similarly, her sister Serena Williams recently had a lot of struggles. She became pregnant and she had a child and she got into a lot of complications. So much so that she was told by her doctors that she will not be able to play. She will not be able to go back to her game the way she was. But, and if I ask you what belief was she fed into, the biggest belief, and she's spoken about this very, very publicly, that a lot of her PR team, people close to her, they said that you're very popular, you're known as a symbol, you're very strong. Don't talk about your struggles. Don't talk about your health issues, because it's going to make your dilute your brand image. So she could have believed that limiting belief that I have to always show up as strong. I have to hide my flaws because I'm going to look less than perfect. But she didn't do that. She put a different belief system in place, and she said, you know what? Being vulnerable makes me stronger. Talking about my struggles makes me stronger, makes me real, makes me more human. And she did that, and that did wonders for her mental health, but that also did wonders for her coming back and bouncing back from her struggles. And as we know, she actually bounced back stronger than ever. So it's one of my favorite stories, and I'd love for you to take a minute or two to share one of your favorite stories. It could be a famous person, it could be somebody in your family, in your workplace, somebody close to you who you feel is an inspiration in terms of breaking a belief barrier. It could be yourself as well. It could be your child as well. Sometimes we learn so much from our children because they're young enough and the limiting beliefs have not set on them yet. So sometimes when I look at kids, I'm amazed at how much they think they're capable of. And as a parent, I work really hard to ensure that, negative belief systems and limiting belief systems around them do not become their reality.
Marine, I would like to request the participants to, if they can
That
switch on their cameras so we can take a quick click of the
let's do
participants, yeah, of the session.
Let's do that. And what I'll do is I'll stop the share because yeah. So I'll stop the share for a minute and then we'll go back to it. Right. So if you could all come back on, I think you might have to take me off spotlight to be able to get everything in this picture.
Misha, if you can do it, Asif.
Steve Jobs is a brilliant example. Yes, true. So you can do the countdown from us and take a picture. Lovely to see all of you.
Asif, you are ready?
Okay, thumbs up, please.
So, Kaleem, was that
Thanks,
a
Misha.
challenge with technology or a limiting belief that you can't do it? Got you.
Yeah, got it.
Done. Thank you, everyone.
Kaleem, one suggestion, if you just took the first page, then you might not have gotten the people who are showing up on the second page. So just make sure that you also
Yeah, you're right.
Yes,
Yeah,
please.
you're right.
There are 3 pages actually.
Oh,
Yeah, exactly.
wow.
Okay, I just saw this. If you can please thumbs up again so I can take
Okay.
picture of all everyone.
Okay.
Yes, go to all the pages, please, so nobody's missed out.
Yeah, right.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, done.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And it's so good to see all of you. So that pretty much brings me to the end. Now we have good 10-15 minutes to spare. So I want to hear from all of you. You could either tell me who inspires you in terms of this, or you could answer this reflection prompt that you have in front of you. What new belief, after listening to me today for an hour, a little less than an hour, about 45 minutes, what new belief has inspired you, to adopt, and that could help you move forward? So please come, feel free to come off mute. I'd love to hear from you. No need to wait, just unmute yourself and start talking. Otherwise, we'll ask Nadeem to pick on a few people. That's always fun.
Hey.
No, I'm not going to pick on people as people are still thinking. Allow me to tell you, and it's a fact that there are witnesses at this platform at the moment. When I said to my team that we're going to do this thing called Beyond Business, and there are more projects coming under this program. So Beyond Business is a wider program to give back to the community of security professionals the skills which are not taught in professional certifications or technical certifications. Once I said that, the entire team reinforced their idea that this man has gone crazy. He's thinking what is not gonna bring any result. And I'm so very glad, so thankful to you, Mehreen, that we were 35 in the last session. Today we are 62.
Amazing. Amazing. And I want to add one thing to that, Nadeem. In my experience working with leaders, one thing I've learned is that after a certain point, there's only so much technical knowledge you can get. And after, when you're at a certain position, you've learned all you needed to learn, and you've proven yourself how good you are. Then what sets you apart from other leaders and what makes you a really strong, solid leader is your mindset. So I'm so glad that you set up these 10 session series all around mindset. It's the strongest tool, stronger than any degree that you will hold. Trust me. So who's going to share?
Can I say something?
Yes, Zishan Mohammed Aftab, right? Is it? No, did I get, who's talking?
No, it's not Zishan.
It is, I don't know who's talking. Just introduce yourself and you can start.
Okay, my name is Sayyid Tahir.
All right.
Okay, so thank you very much. It was a very productive session, I would say. Unconsciously, sometimes you think what is limiting you, or there are things which are limiting you, but consciously thinking and exploring that is very, very important. And I think this session will help a lot of us, personally me, to look at interpersonal communication we talk about, but intrapersonal communication is also very talking to yourself, exploring. I think the core beliefs, the society, the environment, religion, it actually, there are lots of contributors which creates a lot of walls or barriers how a person thinks, and nobody's immune to the influence. It's not possible for human being not to get influenced. You get influenced. So I think after this session, what the one major or there are key takeaways when we talk about a session. So key takeaway would be, I think, to create a holistic environment of reinforcement to actually change your belief, and it will be a persistent effort, and it'll take some time. It's not overnight or just I click and I change my thought. So I think understanding your own self, what barriers are there, which what fears or what other issues are there, and then create an environment, a complete environment for the reinforcement for the positive behavior, positive thoughts, and that mindset that yes, I can do it. That's from me. Thank you.
100%. That I agree with it. 100% belief. You cannot let go of them overnight. It's a long process that takes years and years of unlearning that. It has taken me years and years to get rid of the negative beliefs that I hold. So yeah, great perspective. Faizan Hassan has his hand up. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you, Marine. And first of all, I'm really happy to see you again. I attended you the first session also, and then the IFPO, Nadeem Saab, and the Kaleem Saab, and the complete team. They're doing a wonderful job. At least we're learning something. So I would like to ask something or share something that you shared few questions in the beginning or the middle of the presentation, that am I too old to go for this? And the second was that when I say no to them, they are not happy to me. And the last slide, that was of the belief. So I personally feel that belief is very much important, but the culture in which you are serving, that needs to be positive. And if you don't get that positivity in that culture, then you cannot come out with your inside ideas, and I should say your inner can't come out. So what are your beliefs on this thing, that if you don't get a positive culture around you, and you are contributing from your end, so how to deal with that then?
Yeah, Very, very good question and very good perspective. I
Thank
always
you.
answer this in this way. Nadeem, do you want to answer this? Is that why your hand is up?
I just wanted
Go ahead.
to add a thought to what Faizan has said. And for many times, I used to think like that, that no, it's not for me. And and I sometime later I realized that it's up here, it's not there. It's in my mind that they don't like what I say. Yes, over a period of time, I did realize how to say, when to say is equally important. And if I'm able to create that, open that window that they want to listen to me, I go with the positive news first, people would start listen. Marine, I'm not trying to do your job,
No, no.
but I know
It's a
I
great point.
was suffering from this for quite some time.
Yeah, that's a
Thank you.
great
Thank you.
point. And I always say, you can be, so it's very easy to blame the environment and culture, and that's also a limiting belief. And yes, it is hard. Yes, the environment goes against you, the culture goes against you, and that's why you have to fight it. And that's why not fighting it becomes easier. You don't want to let go of the belief system because you say, oh, the environment is not helping me, the company is not helping me, my parents are not helping me. But that's where the hard work comes in. So you can be that person who can bring change. You start changing the belief, you start putting things, doing things differently. Somebody will take inspiration from you. Then another person will take inspiration from you. So there is like a spillover effect, an external effect, and becomes a chain of progress. So I've been in some really tough situations where I'm the only one who's thinking that way. Nobody else thinks. And I've been part of work cultures where everything I feel is going against me. But do I buy into that belief or do I create my own beliefs? And when you show up stronger with your own strong beliefs, things start to shift. I've seen that in my experience. And I'll share that with a very small experience. When I moved to Switzerland, it they have very difficult laws over there to get work. They only the local government or the local laws are very tough for expats. So it's almost, I went there, the first message I started hearing was, it's impossible, you're not going to get work here. And for a while, I let that belief system become my belief system. I said, I'm not going to find work. And I stopped even looking. And then I said, hold on, the system is against me, everything goes against me, but I'm going to change my belief system and fight it. And only a year later, I had a fabulous job. And then I let go of that job for an even better job. So, and I learned so much from my time there. So it's, yes, it could feel like the system is against you, but you have the power over yourself, not the system. So use that power. All right.
Yeah.
So I'm also going to pass it back to Kaleem because I think he has a feedback form for everybody. But while
Yeah.
he's talking, please feel free to put your comments in chat.
Thank you so much, Marine, for today's powerful and thought-provoking session. Your insights on identifying and overcoming limits beliefs have truly given us all something to reflect on and apply both personally and professionally. Before we close, we would really appreciate it if each of you could take a moment to share your thoughts through our feedback form, which shared in the chat box. Your feedback help us improve and ensure the sessions are meaningful for you. Let's take 2 minutes right now. Please go ahead and fill it out while it's fresh in your mind. Asif, you can play back.
And if you guys think of any other topic which is of interest, please do not hesitate. Share it with us, and we will do the best that we can to bring in more resources and make your journey more exciting.
Once again, thank you all for being part of session 2 of the Lead Forward series. We are grateful for your time, your energy, and your commitment to growth. Stay tuned. We'll be announcing for session 3 soon. Until then, keep reflecting, keep leading, and get ready to level up once again. Take care and see you soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Bye.
everybody, for listening, and hope
Thank
to see you
you.
next month for session number 3. See you. Bye-bye.
See you
Bye-bye.
soon.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.